SABC, host broadcaster of the G20 South Africa 2025.
Well, the social summit kicking off today in Ekurhuleni, and that's of course where Leanne has been all morning, and wall-to-wall coverage of this event and all the other G20 events taking place on the SABC Plus app, where we have a pop-up channel as the official broadcaster here at SABC News. And this is where I say goodbye from me, Stacey. The rest of the team will be back with you tomorrow, but of course handing it over to Leanne, and she'll take us up to the agenda. Liesl standing in for Ayanda today. Leanne, it's goodbye from me, but of course you still have some work to do there at the Social Summit.
I have indeed. Thanks very much, Sakina. And let me tell you, it's important work that we've got to end this program with. And that, of course, is a conversation around inequality. And I think that this is one of those interviews that certainly is so important to put everything into perspective. I've got with me Professor Gilad Isaacs, who's the co-author of the G20 Inequality Report, also a professor of economics at the University of Massachusetts Amherst. Prof, wonderful to have you. Thanks for being with us. So this inequality report is basically, as you were explaining to me, everything being brought together and from all other inequality reports that have been conducted, and this one is the one that at the end of the day the G20 leaders are going to be looking at.
Yes, what we've tried to do is bring together a lot of research that has been done over the past few years by many institutions and very important researchers all over the world. We also consulted widely, about 80 experts, and we have tried to bring together the current state of inequality, how significant it is, what are driving it, and what can be done about it.
Yeah, I mean, looking at some of the findings, it's literally jaw-dropping. Things that we do know, but every time we look at them, we just think to ourselves, this world is so unequal that it's frightening. I mean, from what the report is showing, 83% of countries suffer from high income inequality. What is driving this?
It's a combination of things which really reflect the processes that happened in the world over the last 2 or 3 decades, including laws, regulations, policies that have enabled the rich to get constantly richer and made the lives of many more people in the world much more insecure and fragile. So our fundamental conclusion from this is that inequality is a policy choice. It's a political choice, and it can be changed.
A very fascinating dynamic, however, is coming out of this, which I must say got my attention, is where global income inequality between individuals has decreased since 2000, largely due to China's economic rise, yet inequality within countries remains extremely high. How do we make sense of this?
It's really because some countries, particularly China and a few other Asian countries, have done better in terms of per capita income. And so all incomes have risen there. Yeah. But the rich, even in China and other Asian countries, have done way better than everyone else. And the rich everywhere, even in countries where many people are worse off, have done better than ever. So the problem is, in effect, the people at the top 10% of global wealth inequality in particular.
Yeah, and this is where the problem lies, because we're looking at 41% of all new wealth went to the richest 1%.
Yes.
It's incredible that the wealth stays with the wealthy and it's never shared. How do we take the power away from the wealthy, and we're talking the ultra wealthy, to share it amongst the masses?
Well, you know, they are not just taking it because they deserve it. They're taking it because it's being allowed to happen. And that's really where laws and regulations and economic policies come in. And so what we have to do is to both affect what is called pre-distribution, the distribution between wages and profits, and within profits, which companies are able to take maximum shares, and within the big companies, which multinationals, and within the multinationals, which owners of extreme wealth. Yeah. And that is enabled. So we can change a lot of those, but we also have to tax the extremely wealthy. Yeah. Because governments are always saying, we don't have money for schools, for health, for basic infrastructure, for water, for any of these things. We have to take money from those who are not paying their fair share of taxes as well.
And that's the thing. And I know that you have put together recommendations and a list of how we try and sort this out. So perhaps talk to us about a few of these, the pointers that you've raised.
Well, as I said, there are policies that enable very large companies and multinationals to actually get away with paying much lower tax, but also to grab a greater share of the value that is created. And we can change those policies. They are not something that are inevitable. 30 years ago, they did not have policies like that. So we have to address those. We have to address the fact that we are not providing things like minimum wages to most of our workers across the world.
Yeah.
We're not giving living wages to the vast majority of workers.
Yeah.
And we're not providing basic social services to so many people, especially in the poor and lower middle income countries.
I mean, we look at this and we talk about policy areas that we want to see changed. Taxation, social protection, debt relief, industrialization. These offer, I imagine, the biggest opportunities, but it depends on the leaders, and some of those leaders are the ultra wealthy, to change it. So it's a very difficult situation.
It's a difficult situation, but it's not something that can't be changed.
Good.
And I think that's the point. That you see, leaders are able to do this, or can be, if you like, in a nexus with the very, very rich, because we, the people, allow them to do that. So our idea, our main recommendation is actually to have an international panel on inequality that's going to put together all the research, monitor processes, check the reliability of the data, and provide frequent assessments of inequality. Because that's how people will realize what's going on. That's what will enable them to see, these are the causes, these are the drivers, this is what we can do about it, these are the policies that can help, these are the policies that will make things worse. And until people realize that, we're not going to get the social pressure and the political pressure to get change.
So we look at food insecurity, because that is a massive one. And I mean, the amount of people, please forgive me, I've forgotten the number, but the number of people that are suffering through, whether it be malnutrition or any form of food insecurity, what are we dealing with in the world's percentage?
We are dealing with something like more than 1 billion people suffering from severe food insecurity, and around 2 billion suffering from moderate to severe food insecurity.
Sure. That's unacceptable, because these are things that can be alleviated.
Oh, absolutely. Hunger can be alleviated, extreme poverty can be alleviated, basic, universal, good quality social services can be provided to everyone. These are not technologically impossible, these are not financially impossible. We just have to change our policies, our institutions, the way we do things.
Yeah, yeah. So let's start looking at how we are going to influence, because do you think G20 countries actually have the political will to confront the structural drivers of inequality? Because at the end of the day, we could be stuck in a rhetoric and nothing actually changes.
Well, you know, some G20 leaders, I think, are actively wanting to do something about it. After all, President Ramaphosa did set up this committee, recognizing that South Africa is one of the most unequal countries in the world. President Lula has already expressed interest. A number of other countries across the world, the governments have expressed interest. But I think really this is something that people have to take up. Civil society, people have to take it up and demand of their governments. This is an equality emergency, just like climate change is. Let's do something about it.
Yeah, I mean, inequality, it should be. I mean, obviously, that's one of the big themes that we have here. Solidarity, equality, and sustainability. Equality being one of the major issues that we need to strive for. However, living in a world that is so unequal, it does almost seem insurmountable. But let's just look at this kind of as a wrap-up now. If you had to sit in front of the G20 leaders, all of them sitting there looking at you, and you have to give a message to them, what is that message? What is that one thing that you would like to leave them with that they can actually implement straight away that'll change the fate of hundreds of millions of people?
I would say that a large part of the inequality we face today, which has terrible social and political consequences as well, is because of the international arrangements that we've allowed to happen. G20 is in a unique position to affect those international arrangements. They have to begin by enabling an international panel on inequality that will define the terms of the problem, tell us exactly where it's most problematic, give us some of the drivers of that inequality, provide some assessments of the different solutions.
Before I let you go, is South Africa the right country to be leading and pushing for this? Because that's an important aspect. If the host country, the presidency of the country, is pushing for it, even though South Africa is battling with probably one of the worst inequality rates in the world, can we carry this not only for the rest of the world but for ourselves.
Oh, absolutely. I think the very fact that the president has set up this committee shows that he's aware of the problem. He's recognized that South Africa is a very, very high inequality problem and things must be done. He has welcomed our proposals. And let's face it, South Africa has been a beacon of light for the rest of the world, even on very critical issues like the genocide in Gaza. It has really shown the way for progressive people in that respect. And I'm hoping it will do so for this as well.
I hope so too. Thank you, Prof. Thank you very, very much for joining us, for talking to us about this. Professor Gilad Isaacs is the co-author of the G20 Inequality Report and a professor of economics at the University of Massachusetts, Amherst. Again, thank you so much for your time. So, important issues that have been discussed here, as I think what we do is start wrapping things up and moving into where the actual summit begins. We've got the Deputy President who's expected to be opening this up a little bit later on this afternoon, I think just after 1 o'clock. I'm joined by Ayanda Nyati, who of course is from the agenda. He's going to be taking this over. This has been an incredibly enlightening morning, and I must say I think you're in for a treat today, because the issues that are being discussed here are the issues that affect every single human on earth. And I'm not even talking of those of the G20 nations. We're talking inequality, we're talking starvation, we are talking no access to education, to healthcare services, to things that should be done. These are basic human rights that are not being done. This is an important moment and pivotal moment.
Without a doubt. And Leanne, what we're hoping to do from 9 o'clock as part of the agenda team is continue with the discussion. Often in South Africa, we speak about the social compact, right? This idea that government can't do the work alone. And many of the organizations that are actually here are putting their hands up, actually, to say we want to contribute to sorting out a lot of those socio-economic issues that you've just outlined. The question, though, is how do we move from just having conversations about these things to having people have the kind of, support that will enable them to shift the dial. So we'll speak to a number of organizations that have made their voices heard even during the midterm budget policy statement, and of course get a whole lot more of their views about what it will take to have that meaningful change.
What will it take? Because these are the questions that we've been asking all morning. I've been asking our guests that have been joining us, if they had to stand in front of these G20 leaders, what would they suggest? And the reality is that these leaders are fully aware of the problems that the world is going through. And I mean, when you look at, and I leave you with these thoughts, because Ayanda, I know you're taking this forward, but when you look at this inequality survey, and one of the most alarming findings out of the survey, it shows that 2.3 billion people face moderate or severe food insecurity. This is a rise of 335 million people since 2019. The situation is not getting better, it is worse, and the leaders are aware of this. So the message we take through to them and the communique that comes out of this, the conscience of the G20, is vital. I'll leave it there, handing it over to the agenda. God bless you, take care, and we'll see you bright and early tomorrow morning. So it's a goodbye from me, and enjoy, Ayanda. Thank you very much.